Hey guys, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I hope you enjoyed this interview. Hello everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. This is Moneyline with Nancy. Welcome again to the program. I am Nancy Naji. Today we will continue our discussion on inflation, of course, the rising cost of food. Today we are focusing on the increasing prices of food and how Nigerians are surviving. Yesterday on the show, we did talk about inflation, understanding the causes in Nigeria, the impact and the solutions. My guest, of course, posited solutions yesterday on the show. Today, I'll be looking at how Nigerians are indeed coping. With the information that I have just a few seconds ago, in fact, one of my camera person, Uche, Uche, who is also a trader, because everybody must look for what to do now to augment, your earnings. I was being told just a few seconds ago that the mudu of rice as of today, 2,500 naira. That's a mudu of rice. You know that small mudu. I think that small mudu is 4 cups, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 4, not cigar cup or milk cup, because there are types of cups, cigar and what do they call it? A milk cup. Then you also have the paint bucket, as it were. But a mudu of rice, 2,500. Beans is going for 3,000 naira a mudu. That's honey beans. Here, at least here in Abuja, and I'm even talking not even the city center now. The market, which market now, Uche? Maraba. Okay, Maraba, and that should be like a bit cheaper than inside the city center. So you can imagine, for those of us in the city center, how much we are spending on food. Honey beans going for 3,000, the white beans going for 2,900. That's a mudu. Local rice with sand. You know, we have our own local rice that you'll be eating, you'll be, chewing stones with it. A mudu of it is 1,900. Local rice without sand, or that the stones have been out, the well-sieved rice is going for 2,500 naira a mudu. Then elubo, that's for amala, that's yam flour, isn't it? Yam flour is going for 1,900 naira a mudu. So you can imagine, for someone that is on a minimum wage of 30,000 naira, and I don't even want to bring the minimum wage conversation in this morning, because we're still at the 30,000 naira point level. Many governments are still not paying the 30,000 naira wage. The minimum wage conversation is still on as we speak, but don't also forget that this minimum wage conversation, eventually when the federal government and labor agrees, that minimum wage adjustment supposedly will be impacting about 3 million Nigerians. That's both federal, state workers and local government, those that government pays, about 3 million of us. The rest of us are employed by private citizens, that's businesses, majority MSMEs. Will that minimum wage conversation also impact them? Because the national minimum wage should be a law, and when it's a law, everyone should follow it. But that's a discussion for another day. And I've heard many small businesses, a lot of small businesses are already downsizing even as I speak. Some are closing down. Some that are not closing down have already cut their staff. They are right-sizing. Individuals are going for the essentials now. And the essentials, according to what we learned in school, food, clothing, and shelter. Even among the basics now, among the essentials, you have essential. And the essential, now food. Because many Nigerians, even as at 2018, the Living Standards Survey of the NBS 2018 survey showed us then that Nigerians spend almost 3/4 of their income on food. I wonder if the NBS does that report again, many Nigerians will be spending more than 3/4 of their income on food, perhaps close to 80 or 90% now, because whatever you earn now, you just use it to eat, and if you can just transport yourself to where you make your income, because they say at all na im bad. I no wan stay at home, make I just find something to do. But the things wey we dey do no dey carry us home again. So on the show, we are focusing on inflation, what we can begin to do to get it down, especially on the government part, and bringing to you really to the attention of the government that Nigerians are really suffering. So it's not uhuru, it's not as you dey your AC car or you dey your tinted car, you feel say all of us they live like that. No, it's a difficult one. The streets are not smiling at all. So this is also bringing it to the attention of the government. So we'll continue today, but let's get started with what's in the news. Nigeria is being projected to lose 300 millionaires at home to other countries this year, according to the Henley Private Wealth Migration Report 2024. High net worth Nigerians consider relocating due to economic challenges, high crime rates, and naira weakness. UAE, USA, UK top the list of destinations by these millionaires from Nigeria. Okay, so the remaining millionaires that we have are the ones that are leaving. All right, let's move ahead. The National Pension Commission has disclosed that in apparent response to the biting hardship in the economy, the number of workers that made withdrawals from their voluntary contributions under the pension savings increased by 87.6% in the first quarter of 2024, while the number of workers that withdrew from their voluntary contributions went up to 1,302 in the first quarter of this year from 694 recorded in the preceding quarter of last year. That also tends to what we're saying earlier. Okay. The National Bureau of Statistics says that the average price of 5 kg cooking gas increased from 6,521 naira 58 kobo to 7,418 naira 45 kobo in May 2024, stressing that the May price depicted a 13.75% increase compared to the previous month. Still on prices, the national average retail price paid by consumers for petrol increased year-on-year by 223.21% to 769.682 naira per litre in May 2024 from 238 naira 11 kobo per litre recorded in the corresponding period of 2023, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Nigeria has asked for an 18-month extension from June 30, 2024 to December 31, 2025 on the World Bank's $800 million palliative loan deadline in order to strengthen its social safety net initiatives as the country battles growing inflation and economic difficulties. The federal government says the $800 million loan has supported 3 million poor households in Nigeria. Nigeria is facing a food crisis and is expected to worsen. In April 2024, the federal government reported that 24.7 million people in 26 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory are affected by a food and nutrition crisis. Moneyline with Nancy took to the streets to find out how Nigerians are faring.
I can tell you that Nigerians are one of the most resilient people in the world. It's actually biting very hard. It is a tough time for Nigerians. And then you see that the cost of everything, including drugs, has equally gone up. And we've got so many people who are living with a specific illness and morbidity. It is a hard one. Nigerians are complaining. Nigerians are suffering and smiling. To see them talk and interact, you would think that all is okay. But all you need to do is to take a closer look. You see that even people you know that used to live very well, some have had to drop their cars and start trekking. Some have cut by half. And a lot is going on in the lives of Nigerians. And somehow I'm confident that we'll pull out of this.
I'm looking at the food crisis currently happening in Nigeria. It's as a result of negligence on the part of policymakers because they refuse to put some things in place that will help mitigate some of the challenges of global food crisis that is happening. I've interacted with farmers so far, and most of these farmers, they want to scale up their production or they want to scale up their activities, but due to lack of finances, they're not able to do that.
Now we see all the federal government to invest in agriculture too as well. But not just even investing in agriculture as well. The issue of insecurity too should be tackled. because some people have run out of their farm as a result of banditry, herdsmen, clash, and all that things. If insecurity can be handled properly, I can assure you that the agricultural system will boost a bit. An average Nigerian earn below 30,000 naira. So, and how much is bag of rice? Bag of rice about 70,000 naira, 80,000 naira. So automatically your salary cannot even afford you a bag of rice. Talk less of buying oil and all that thing.
A lot of people are becoming more frugal in their spending, maybe in how they eat. We are getting smarter in the way we consume, though it's a lesson we are learning, though it's really, really difficult. And again, I think because government has shut the border, we are not getting food importation. But that is a good economic policy so that we'll be dependent on what we have in the country. I think if the border is opened a little bit and we can import some staple food to reduce the acute lack of food, farmers should be encouraged. A grant should be given to people who are genuine farmers.
Investors in modular refineries have commenced discussions with the African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim, on a bid to access part of the $18 billion fund being planned by the bank for the development of refineries in Nigeria and other African countries. It was gathered that operators in the modular refining space confirmed that this was following the successful financial assistance rendered by the bank to the $19 billion Dangote Petroleum Refinery, which is now producing refined petroleum products. According to the latest data from the IMF's currency composition of official foreign exchange, we're getting data that global foreign reserves hit $12.3 trillion by the end of 2023, representing a 3.5% year-on-year increase from the $11.92 trillion recorded a year earlier. Now let's move over to South Africa, where we saw Cyril Ramaphosa. He's been sworn in as South Africa's president for a second 5-year term. As part of his inaugural speech, he said the formation of a government of national unity is a moment of profound significance. It is the beginning of a new era. Take a listen.
This diverse nation, we have a sacred duty to unite the people of South Africa. We affirm that history has placed on our shoulders the responsibility to transform our country into a non-racial and non-sexist and prosperous society.
The Comptroller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi, disclosed that it has started working with the Central Bank of Nigeria to achieve a stable exchange rate for imports, reiterating the backdrop of huge distortions in business planning caused by frequent change in exchange rates over the past few months. Meanwhile, also the Comptroller General did mention that the NCS, that's the Nigeria Customs Service, has recorded a revenue of about 4.4 trillion naira in the last 1 year. Much talk about customs becoming a revenue-generating agency as against a trade facilitator. All right, let's move over to the UK, where British inflation, like I mentioned yesterday, has returned to 2%. And that is for the first time in nearly 3 years in May. But strong underlying price pressures all but rule out a pre-election interest rate cut. While Prime Minister Rishi Sunak welcomed the fall in headline inflation in May, it has likely come too late to turn around his fortunes in British elections on July 4 or to prompt a Bank of England rate cut today. So we'll take a look at how that would impact the BOE's decision today, but let's take a listen.
A year and a half ago, we had higher inflation than nearly any other major economy. Today, it is lower, and that shows the difficult decisions we've taken have paid off. That would not have happened under Labour. They refused to condemn the public sector pay strikes. That would have meant higher inflation for longer. Instead, we have lower inflation, taxes starting to come down, and hopefully now mortgages starting to come down, it would be a terrible shame if we turn the clock back and put up taxes for every family with savings, which is what it now emerges Keir Starmer plans to do.
Well, it's welcome that inflation has returned to target. This is the first time in almost 3 years that inflation has been at its target after reaching more than 11%. But unlike the Conservatives, I'm not going to claim that everything is fine in the economy and that the cost of living crisis is over. I know for many families and pensioners, the cost of living crisis is still acute.
All right, let's quickly take a break. And when we return, I'll be taking you through the markets for today. And thereafter, we will be having our conversation on the rising cost of food in Nigeria and how are Nigerians coping. All that will be when we return from the break. To stay. All right, welcome back to the program. Let's start with other parts of Africa, talking about market analysis. Of course, yesterday, Cyril Ramaphosa was sworn in again for a second time as South Africa's president. Earlier today, we saw that the GSE was up by about 1.2% at 73,796. The Ghana Stock Exchange down yesterday by 18 points at 3,770. Now, let's move over to the next, shall we? Guys, in other parts of Africa, that's Nairobi, NSC 20. This is the index that looks at the top 20 companies listed on the Kenyan bourse. We're seeing a downside of 13 basis points this morning. The Egyptian bourse up by about 1% in early trade. Now, let's take a look at other markets. Shall we move, to the United States? We're seeing that futures are rising. These are stock futures numbers. S&P 500, where is it now? S&P 500, we're seeing it's about this number. But for U.S. stock futures this morning, they are largely climbing as investors look for the benchmark to add to their portfolios and looking to the benchmark to at least add to its latest high. Yesterday, I also did tell you that NVIDIA has overtaken Microsoft as the world's most capitalized company. It's overtook, that is Microsoft, to become the most valuable company in the world. And how is that calculated? It is calculated by the share price of the stock times the number of shares listed. So far, NVIDIA stock has climbed by over 170%. I think, was it as of yesterday, about 174% so far in the year 2024 as the AI boom continues to boost equities. Still in the U.S., Nasdaq futures up today also. Let's quickly move to Europe, where European markets are a bit largely higher. Swiss National Bank is cutting rates ahead of the BOE decision later today. So European stocks are higher this Thursday morning. Of course, these numbers just came in a few moments ago. And like I always tell you, numbers do change because the markets are trading per second. So European investors are, a bit bullish this Thursday morning, with UK investors looking ahead to the Bank of England policy rate decision that will come in a short while. That's if it hasn't come as I speak now, though I haven't seen the news flash. But the BOE will be announcing its decision today. The Swiss National Bank today said that it's lowering its policy rate by 0.25 percentage point, 0.25% to 1.25%. In Nigeria, our MPR rate is at what? Is it 24.75 or is it 26 now? The numbers, I can't even remember now, but I know that from last year, it was at 18.75%. Interest rates have moved by 7.5%. So to 18.75% plus 7.5%, that gives me what? About 26% for our MPR rate. Other news coming in from Europe also indicates that the Central Bank of Norway held its policy interest rates at about 4.5% today, as expected. So we're seeing a lot of data coming from the Euro area. Also, Euro 2024 is on. For those of us that are football fans, that's the UEFA Euro 2024. Fantastic matches, I must say, for those that have watched. I've not watched all of them, but at least I saw which match yesterday again. I know that Germany played yesterday, Germany and Hungary, 2-0. Switzerland also, I think, was it yesterday also? Was it yesterday also? But whatever it is, we're seeing fantastic matches coming in from the European guys. Copa America also will be starting. So you'll be seeing the likes of Canada, Argentina, Peru, Chile, play Jamaica, play in Copa America. So I've diverted a bit. You know there's money in everything, and football is big business. All right, let's move over to Asia now, guys. Let's take a look at Asia, where we saw Asian markets mostly lower as China kept a benchmark interest rates steady. So China kept its 1.5-year loan prime rate unchanged at 3.45% and 3.95% respectively. For New Zealand, the economy has exited a technical recession, growing 0.2% quarter on quarter in the first 3 months of the year. So while we were sleeping, a lot happening within the Asian Pacific markets, but they were really that of mixed sentiments because earlier this week, the People's Bank of China kept the one-year medium-term lending facility rate steady at 2.5%. So, you know, traders and investors around the Asian Pacific area are watching what's happening in China, in Japan, in South Korea, and what have you. For South Korea, the Kospi, which is the index, South Korea's Kospi, added about 0.37% overnight to close at 2,800 point level, while the Nikkei 225 ended the day 16 basis points higher. All right, what's next? Let's take a look at commodities very quickly. Brent is actually rising today. Of course, in the last few hours, we've seen Brent crude trading at around $85 a barrel. Where's Brent? Okay, you're showing me gold. Okay, that's it. Brent is trading at $85 a barrel. We saw that the U.S. federal holiday kept, you know, trading activity a bit subdued. Let's quickly take a look at gold. How is gold trading earlier this morning? Let's quickly see that. Okay, gold should be around $2,333 an ounce. That's $2,233 an ounce there. All right, that's it for the markets this morning. Let's quickly take a break, and when we return from the break, we will start our conversation. Do join us again.
A Risco Tomato instead. I go give you imported tomato. Be like saying that people like you, the wicked our country people. You see this Risco or Nachiko, They take correct natural ingredients, make them. If not made in Nigeria, like a Risco, get many benefits. You help grow our economy. And job plentiful. Nyafo, nyafo. And when you put them inside mouth, it's sweet. And it dig the one for
buy made in Nigeria. Buy a Risco product.
Risco Tomato. Give me a Risco Tomato.
The people managing perhaps the economy or any sector should now be agitated that there's a new sheriff in town and all of us will be asked to go.
Well, it depends on how you look at it, and great question, by the way.
It's a great question, Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nancy. It's a good question.
The school does not teach us about money, and this is money line. So we are the one that teaches people what financial education really is.
A lot of things that we need to address in this country, and one of those things definitely is corruption.
Let me start by commending you for what you've been doing for years. As I said, I've been following your show for almost 10 years now.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to have me to come to this great program.
Be the best you can be and be the change that you want to see. All right, welcome back to the program. My guest is joining me now virtually. She's Glory Hiremesh. She is a senior analyst at SBM Intelligence. Hello, Glory, and welcome to the program.
Hello, Nancy.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
How are you? How are you doing?
Good.
How have you been surviving? Let me start with you because our conversation today is the rising cost of food, how are Nigerians surviving? So let me start with you. How's it been for you?
Oh, okay. And I like that question because, when we talk about the rising cost of food, sometimes we forget that, we are part of all that is happening. It is also our lived experience. So for me, my survival um, has been to capitalize on food sharing groups. I'm going to discuss that earlier, and I think that's the method that a lot of should I say middle class Nigerians are kind of using, to survive rather than buying from the market. We are now forming WhatsApp groups and doing food sharings so that we can cut out the middleman.
So where does it leave the poor person, the poor household in Nigeria? Because even, I don't know if you were listening to me earlier during our news segment where I got the information, of course, where I did say that 300 Nigerian millionaires are to leave Nigeria in 2024. And that report came from the Henley Private Wealth Migration Report of 2024. When I saw that report, what immediately came to my mind was that, of course, for the middle-class Nigerians, they're seeing that this country is no more favorable, as it were, which the report also cited, economic challenges, high crime rate, and other worsening indices, and they are getting out of the country. So if you're seeing the middle class get into food sharing groups like you have, and leaving Nigeria, where does it really leave the poor households in Nigeria? Because I know that perhaps some of the people you know have already jackpot.
That is very true. So what the poor households are doing is, skipping meals, reducing portions, cutting on proteins. In fact, we've seen some inventions of necessity more recently, like cucumber stew, using more of canned tomatoes, soaking and grinding dry chili pepper in place of tomatoes, for instance, which are not necessarily healthy alternatives, but these alternatives are just for them to survive. And when we spoke to farmers, farmers said they are doing something that I term precautionary food retention. So it's not hoarding, because they don't have enough supply to sell. They don't know if after selling the supply that they have, they would be able to purchase food. So what they are doing is precautionary food retention. So that is why we see the prices of traditional food that has never gone up, like gari,
Yeah.
going up very high, because people who are producing, who are producing or farming cassava, for instance, are holding back because they don't know if they can afford, to buy rice with the money if they sell the produce that they have. So these are some of the coping strategies that Nigerians are using. But on the whole, it is important to note that they are not necessarily healthy alternatives. They're just alternatives to cope. And I don't know how long Nigerians can stay on this stretch
In fact,
before they
you
reach.
almost took the question out of my mouth, Glory, because the next question is really, if we're seeing coping strategies from Nigerians like this, how sustainable is it going to be? How long can we continue? And Nigerians are being known all over the world as we are very resilient people. And because of that resilience, our resilience is even so tested now. The New York Times report, I don't know if you saw it, the New York Times report on Nigeria said that our resilience is being tested, the elasticity of our resilience. In school, in my physics class, then we did the in elasticity and in elastic, so the resilience of Nigerians now are being tested. So how sustainable will this coping strategy be for you now that go into food sharing groups and all of that? How long are you going to continue? How long are you going to continue? Because as we even see food prices go up, would you be able to still have the resources to do food sharing in that group? I'm asking you a lot of questions now because they are just hitting me as thunderbolts, but let me just be saying it as they come. Then the other thing is that even in the food sharing group that you are in, are you seeing people also leaving that food sharing group because as food price increase, they can't keep up? So if you were like 20 before, are you now 15, or have you increased because more people want that pattern? Sorry, Glory, for these many questions, but as they come now, they dish them out.
No, it's fine. So it's fine. So first of all, I don't see Nigerians, holding on to these for a very long time, and that is because it is not just food. Food is like is at the basic. In Maslow's hierarchy of need, food comes first. But we have food as a problem, we have transportation as a problem. It feels like everything is pushing in on Nigerians. So you're trying to cut down on one expenses or one aspect, and then you have another aspect that is pressing in on you. So it feels like Nigerians are in a fixed corner. They just keep pressing in. We've seen it with light bills. We've seen it with, the cost of transportation and all of these things. So it feels, and even the cost of school fees in tertiary institutions are also increasing. So imagine a family of 5 who, they have to feed, they have to send their children to school and all of these things together. So Nigerians are almost at the breaking point. I don't know what it is exactly that will cause that trip. But Nigerians need a miracle, if I have to say that. And concerning the food sharing group that I spoke about, which has been the coping strategy for some middle class persons who are, trying to reduce the cost and then take out the middleman. Like you said, people are dropping off because while bulk buying helps, it's becoming hard to save that money. It is becoming hard to have a lot of money to, to bulk buy like previously. And even the bulk buying groups, the cost is increasing. So for instance, what the trend is that if Nigerians move to a particular commodity,
Exactly.
it just shuts
The
it just
price.
shuts up years in a few months, because initially pastas were alternatives for rice, but pastas too have caught up. Eggs were alternatives for meat. They've caught up. In fact, as of today, one egg is about 250 naira. Coming from 30 naira or so in the past 3 years. So a lot is happening, and Nigerians are really, really pressed.
I wonder how much a crate of egg will be now, because why I'm saying this is I go to the market very frequently. And when I go to the market, I also bulk buy. But I've also noticed that whenever I go back again, the price would have increased. The last time I bought a crate of egg, I bought a crate of egg for 4,200. And in fact, their sizes, if they are bigger sizes, is 4,500. If like middle sizes, is like 4,200. The last time I went to the market here, one of the major markets here in Abuja, the dustbin basket of tomatoes, I was told, was it 18,000? I just told my customer, I will see you next time. Let me finish the one in my freezer, because I was like, okay, let me top up. Let me finish the tomatoes in my freezer as well as the tomato paste that I use. And I told the people in my house, we've got to tighten our belts now. In fact, when I came back, my girl did ask me, Mommy, you didn't buy tomato. I said, which tomato? Would this one we are managing, we will see it to the end, let's use the tomato paste and manage. So you can imagine if this is really, really happening, that people can't buy meat, we moved over to eggs. Now, eggs, if you're saying that one egg, did I hear you say right? One egg is 250 naira?
Yes.
As in
So
one...
eggs are now between 4,800 to 6,000 naira, depending on.
So what will I now do when I go to the market next? Because the last time I bought 4,500. I bought the crates that we're still eating now. So what will happen now when I go next?
Project between 4,800 to 6,000.
Okay. Now, what will this lead? Because we are looking at also even the impact on poor households. If you see, because what we've just said, people could not afford meat, they went to fish. Fish is also expensive. People moved to eggs. Now, eggs are expensive. People even moved to crayfish at the time. I think it was even your organization that did a report at the time that people moved from eggs to crayfish. Even the crayfish, crayfish is even another ballgame. So what do we eat for protein? Now, where does it leave poor children, children from poor households in terms of malnutrition? In fact, not only children will malnourished, now all of us will be malnourished too.
Exactly. It's actually not looking good, because, from getting malnourished, you could have, for children now, there could be issues with, retarded growth and things like that Nigeria has tried a lot to fight in the past. So it's as though we are reversing the gains that we've had in, health and sustainable development. And recently we are seeing how cholera is spreading, things that we've not seen in a while. So all of these issues, they have like sort of an intersectional effect on people, not just children. And just like one of the interviewees was speaking when we started this show earlier about how people are managing illnesses and having to also buy food and things like this. So imagine people who are diabetic, who have a special meal plan, coming from a family where there are very many medical practitioners. I have heard stories of people choosing to, die in quotes, rather than drain the family's resources, especially for diabetic patients who cannot, who are insulin dependent. So there's a lot that Nigerians are going through, and it has ripple effect on health. It has ripple effect on almost all facets of life.
I like that you brought this health dimension into it, because I was also going to ask the question around the cost of medicines. Life expectancy in Nigeria is not up to 60. For women, I think it's about 55. And for men, I think about 52 years. Now, if the cost of medicines are going up and cost of food going up, hereby that Nigerians cannot even afford 3 basic square meals, and not even about 3 basic square meals now, well-balanced food. So you can see someone can drink garri in the morning, still drink garri in the afternoon, and drink garri in the night. But now they will even drink garri in the morning and drink garri at night. So that person will be malnourished. So what does it really say in terms of the cost of living long now in Nigeria, and how will this even affect our life expectancy? Let me give you an example. I went to a popular pharmacy here in Abuja, was it 2 weeks ago, to get something. The female supplements I buy, female supplements I buy, I bought it a couple of months ago at 16,000 naira. I didn't want to buy that day, but I just saw it on the shelf and I said, okay, let me just take a look at it, And I looked at the price. It was 36,780 naira. And when I got home, thank God the price tag was still on the one that I bought just a few months ago. It was 16,000 something. And I was telling my husband, I said, take a look at this. When I bought it just about a few months ago, it was 16,000. Are you telling me that this medicine has moved up by 20-something thousand? Is it me that will come back to buy? Are you sure I will not look for a cheaper alternative? So how will this affect the cost of living longer in Nigeria? I don't know. It's just that we don't keep data. We don't even trace this kind of things. We would have seen the impact on longevity within the last few years. I hope you understand what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And try to keep this data at SBM, so maybe we'll request for you.
Oh, okay.
So,
that would be nice.
Yes. Yes, we keep the data and we've been keeping it for close to a decade. So in terms of how this affects longevity, like the example I cited earlier, which has been, really broke my heart, that for instance, insulin dependent people are choosing to sort of euthanasia to say, okay, please, so that my family could have something to feed on because of the rising cost of medical supplies and drugs. We can, because of the tightening economy, we can see that some of these companies are folding up. And in a couple of years, more multinational corporations, might join the train. What this means is that we have to import because, they are no longer with us. They are no longer using our cheap labor, or let me say, labor that is at parity with what we are spending. So that would mean that the cost of those drugs and medications will be high. So if you add all of these, life expectancy in Nigeria may have reduced or might be affected. And our health preparedness index, has some of this information, which will be out in a couple of weeks or so. So yes, it's multifaceted. It affects well-being. It affects almost all aspects of life. And when food started increasing, some persons had said it's easier, it's cheaper to eat out. Maybe eating mama foods and places like that. And our surveys, one of our surveys, show that those food sellers are gravitating towards things like maybe spelled tomatoes, quantity rather than quality. Yeah, so having an outbreak of cholera at this time is not a surprise to us in any way.
Coupled with the season also, with the raining season, that will move fecal matter to, we don't have good drainages and all of that. So it's advisable that for Nigerians now listening, always wash your food very well. You can just add salt to what you wash and add taste, all of that. That's even a different ball game. Glory, you talked about bulk buying earlier. Do you have other tips that you can give to us to survive this high cost of food? Apart from bulk buying, do you have any other tip?
Nigerians are out of tips. As a matter of fact,
I like that, because we are hackers, as it were.
Yes, we just learned that we should not keep food in our freezers for more than 3 days.
Is it free? No, fridge, isn't it? NAFDAC.
You're in our fridge, yeah. In fridge for more than 3 days, So with all of these, trying to live healthy, And then how do we balance it? How do we balance it? It's a lot. And I would say that at this point, is not tips that we need. We need the government to actually, be reactive. This is not being proactive anymore.
Proactive, yeah.
Yeah, this is,
Because we've been doing tips all this while. During Buhari days, we were
exactly.
living on tips. So now we're out of tips. That's another angle to it. Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't even think about it because even my own little corner, I'd be like, what other way can I take to minimize, But it seems that you're always running out of it. Take a look at it now. Nigerians are using cucumber and carrots to make stew. The cucumber now is expensive. Carrots itself, very expensive. So what do you want us to now do? Now, as we gradually move to the end, what is the cost of making jollof rice now? Because I know that SBM Intelligence, you do that report, I think, twice a year. I've not seen a recent one. The last one was in March. Or is that also, is cost also impacting you people from releasing the report? The last time it was about 17,000 naira to make a pot of jollof rice with Onitsha being the highest.
Roughly
So I don't.
2,955 naira.
Sorry?
It was 16,900.
About 17K. Yes.
So we release the report every quarter, but the last the November, October data is added to January, so we would have the report released soon. We are not affected by the cost of food in the market.
It may also be too, because this thing is also impacting companies, as it were. Yesterday I looked at inflation, even the impact on individuals as well as businesses. How do we get smart in the way we eat? I don't know if you're the right person to answer this question, because my mind is also going to a nutritionist, But with the cost that we have, for someone now, 1,000 naira now cannot even buy, or the food it buys you now will not be a well-balanced meal, as it were.
It can't make indomie and egg.
Sorry?
It can't make indomie and egg.
So how do we now get smart? By the way we eat, can we get smart with our eating habits so that we don't also lose so much, so that we can survive through this period that the government has said is for a while?
I cannot really speak to that because I have adjusted, and this is from my own personal experience, and adjusted. And I feel that this is the situation of most Nigerians. We keep adjusting. I also know that for people who are able to, and this is a very few percentage of Nigerians, they are going back to farm. That's for people who can actually access their farms. Because the first problem we have is that, farmers cannot go into the farm. But for people maybe where the insecurity is not as much, some of them are returning to the farm, trying to garden vegetables and a few things like that, but those are not sustainable alternatives.
Okay. Thank you, Gloria. I think we will just anchor here. You said a lot, at least in the last few minutes. We are out of hacks. Nigerians, there are no tips again. Our resilience is really being so stretched. What we really need now is government action and not the rhetoric of talk, talk, talk. Thank you very much for joining us on today's edition of the program. All right, I've been speaking with Glory Hireme, who is a senior analyst at SBM Intelligence. That's so much we can take on today's edition of the program. Just keep being resilient, be the best you can be, and be the change that you want to see, even in the whole of this quagmire. I'll see you all again tomorrow. I am Nancy Naji. Bye now. Thank you for watching. In case this is your first time watching us, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, drop your comments as well as like, and most of all, share our content.